Good evening, Prescott Valley. We are here for the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting, and we'll start this off with a roll call vote. But I see. Yes, sir. Just pause for the cause.
Commissioner Fallman.
Here.
Commissioner Frayer.
Here.
Commissioner Polican.
Here.
Excuse me, Vice Chair Polican.
Here.
Yes. Commissioner Brinkman.
Here.
And Chairman Gummer.
Yes. Okay, moving on. We'll go to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second it.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion for the approval of the minutes from our last meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the, what was that, January 2019 meeting?
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion, 2 seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good. Moving on, we'll go to scheduled announcements from the Commission, public staff. Anybody have any announcements for us this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to the department update.
May I backtrack just a little
You
bit,
sure may.
Commissioner Gummer? We do have some program and class announcements. Would that be acceptable, sir?
You bet.
All right. We are now hiring lifeguards at Mountain Valley Splash. Applications are being accepted online at pvaz.net with interviews occurring in March. Lifeguard courses are available in April and May for non-certified candidates. Please give us a call at 759-3090 for additional information. Also, men's 3-on-3 basketball spring leagues are taking place. The games will start Thursday, March 21st. Our games are 3 periods with 12 minutes within each one of those periods. Registration cost is $150. This is inclusive of a 7-game schedule and a single elimination tournament. All games will be held at the Glassford Hill Middle School, with game time starting at 6:45. We have both an A and B men's division with a maximum of 6 teams within each one of those divisions. Registration is closing soon, March 8th, so we encourage everyone to get on board and holler at us so that we can get you and your team scheduled. We also take registrations for independent players if they do not have a team, so that we may be able to aid those teams still seeking to fill out their entire roster. Registrations can be done online at pvaz.net, or feel free to give us a phone call at our office so that we may be able to assist. There will be a mandatory managers meeting held at 7 p.m. in Civic Center Room 331 on March 14th for those that are registered. Now we have some of our upcoming classes. This is our Yoga Nidra class for those needing a little relaxation in their day. This is no actual yoga experience is necessary, just the ability to relax. Classes are held on Tuesdays from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Kids Zumba classes for ages 7 through 14. This is a fun little way of kids being able to get to dance to upbeat music while learning choreography to favorite songs that we have on file. Classes are held on Tuesdays from 5 to 5:45 in the Civic Center. And we also have some workout opportunities for the ladies. These are held at the Prescott Valley Boys and Girls Club for those that would like to come out and have some fun and get a great workout. This is a Kickstart Women's Boot Camp held Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 6:15 a.m. And if you're of the exploring type, join with us at the Parks and Recreation Department for our monthly day trips where we explore different parts of the state of Arizona. Visit us on our website or give us a call at 759-3090 to learn about our schedule of upcoming trips. We do all kinds of fun, crazy stuff. We go up on the ski lifts up in Flagstaff and see all the wonderful scenery, tour around all kinds of different shops, take some good breaks at some local restaurants in those areas. The one cool picture you see down there, at least cool to me, is the Pima Air Museum that we just got done visiting. So really far-reaching expansive opportunities to get out there and explore our great state at all of its corners. And we also have our acrylic painting workshop. You'll be able to join instructor Tom Blank for a 3-session acrylic painting workshop in which over the course of the 3 days, the students will learn basic acrylic painting skills with a focus on landscapes. Cost is $90 per student, Wednesday through Friday, February 27th, 28th, and March 1st from 8:30 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. And the last hour is an optional studio time. Join us at the Civic Center in room 331 up on the 3rd floor. Also, our March schedule is online too. And last but not least, our drawing workshop, also with artist Tom Blank. So students will learn the basic drawing skills, and we'll use those skills to create drawings of big cats, wolves, and hoofed animals. So, cost is $60 per student, and these are on Wednesday through Friday, February 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Again, 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. in room 331 on the Civic Center of the 3rd floor.
Very good. Looks like we're all starting to get artistic. So we've got the opportunities if we want to get out and do some art. I'm very poor at that myself, but now I can learn. Any questions or comments for Brian? Any programs? Hearing none, we'll move on to the department update. Start off with Brian's report.
Well, we have quite a few different activities. If you're learning about some of the new ones that are in the pipeline right now, a lot of construction and activity going on. So the Boys and Girls Club expansion project is well underway. Pretty exciting to see all of the external coming together. All of our front entryway is in place. We're looking for the front entryway doors coming in. All of the concrete floor area has already been ground and polished. Drywall is up, plumbing in place, all of those good things. So running into all of those finishing touches once the building is enclosed, and then also our HVAC system installed and operating and everything else in play. Then the following 3 to 4 weeks will be the install period for the gym floor. So we are anticipating sometime April-May window for our grand opening. So we'll narrow up those time frames when we get together in March. I think we'll strengthen our schedule and be very excited to announce that ribbon cutting ceremony. So pretty exciting times in Prescott Valley with our gymnasium and our partnership with the Boys and Girls Club and the Northern Arizona Suns. So.
It's been well needed, going to be well used. We're expecting how many more kids can we possibly get into the Boys and Girls Club after this?
I would think close to a bazillion.
That's what we need.
I think that's just about right.
That'll take care of my kids anyway.
There you go.
Exterior is looking really good, too, that blend. You had described that before, but I think it's looking pretty good.
Good color. It's very modern looking.
Yes, ma'am. I think it's a definite excellent blending with existing. That color scheme's working well. It's very representative of the Boys and Girls Club as well in doing that, and I think it'll be a proud element in which the Fain family, as their official branch, will be able to come forward and do that, as well as be able to provide a very professional environment. Our floor will be a full-sized NBA floor in there. We've received many donations towards that project. All of the gym lighting has been donated by our athletic field light company in doing that. So it is a total collaboration of community and afar in doing that. All of our relationships are coming to fruition in this development. So it's a very nice thing to see that collaboration.
Very good. Any other questions, comments? Any other questions or comments on Brian's report? Hearing none, we'll move on to the chairperson's report. So I sit sometimes and I wonder what we do here. Is it really important? And parks are important. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to look things up about why are parks so important to a community. So it says, just as water, sewer, and public safety are considered essential public services, parks are an important and to establish and maintain the quality of life in a community, ensure the health of the youth and the families, and also contribute to the economic and environmental well-being of a community. Planning for parks and recreation facilities can promote active lifestyles, build healthy communities, and have easier transportation. Active transportation is defined as human-powered modes of transportation, and planning for this kind of transportation, such as trails, pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, and shared use paths, provide the opportunity for the people to walk, bike, and use non-motorized paths to get to safe places. Health benefits are contributed to parks due to the physical activity. People of a community exercise more when they have access to parks and recreation programs. Parks can also add economic development to a community. Parks can increase property values, create jobs, and increase tourism. Parks also create pride in the community, bring people and families together, create destination-oriented places, and connect people to nature and each other. Successful parks have 4 qualities that are key. They are accessible, they allow people to engage in activities, they are comfortable for people of all ages, and can also be sociable places. And that's why we have all volunteered at this commission, and we work so hard with staff to help create parks and recreation programs to benefit all the people of Prescott Valley. With new playground equipment being installed in our parks and new parks master plan on the way, the parks will grow and thrive for the town of Prescott Valley, and that's why what makes these meetings and all worthwhile, and why I thank you all for your dedication and volunteering for this important Park and Recreation Commission. With that, any questions, comments?
Very well stated.
And I think we do. We sometimes lose sight of what's so important. Why are we here, and what can we do to make things better? And we are hopefully the doing the right thing for the public, working with Brian's staff. I think we're all on a good track, and seeing our parks thrive and grow and getting bigger and better and state of the art. I'm proud to be part of this commission and proud of what we're all doing. And I thank you all. Okay, moving on. We'll go to the tree advisory business. So we have a tentative meeting set for the 17th or 18th of April. We will have our arborist on board, and we will be starting to plan our dates and such for the meetings to continue on with our tree advisory.
Yes, sir, that is correct. As soon as we receive that correspondence, we'll be able to solidify one of those 2 dates that are on board. I know your schedule and Vice Chair Polikin's schedule are coinciding there, so once we hear back from him, then we'll be able to make that plan go forward. If for some reason there is a conflict, I know Commissioner Freyer has indicated his availability too as past chair. So if we need to call upon his services, we'll do so. And I believe the only day that was in conflict was the 17th in regards to your earlier responses of doing that. So we'll work to put all of that together because we're unfortunately just a wee bit behind, but we already have a 5-year plan put into place, so it does give us a variety of variables that we can choose from. I don't think we'll struggle by any means being able to put together that agenda to put that schedule in place. We, of course, have our annual Arbor Day celebration. It is one of our prerequisites that we have. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have it scheduled for Friday the 26th of April. And we'll be over at Sunflower Park with our tree planting and ceremony, as well as then also the gifting of 500 saplings to those that are in attendance. And then we'll also have our guests, if we're fortunate enough again to have some of our community service clubs on hand. Those folks in attendance will also receive some hot dogs and chips for their hard work and effort out there. And all of those good fun things as we go at it and continue to beautify and grow our community through Tree City USA and our growth awards. So, and I think it will we be celebrating our 15th year? Or am I thinking of Polar Bear? I might be thinking of Polar Bear. My apologies. Lots of good stuff, you know.
It's close.
For 12 or 13.
13? Yeah, maybe it's lucky 13. Yeah. Doing those things. So lots of good things in store, and then following programs and service and education opportunities will come forward through this upcoming fiscal year planning. So, okay.
Very good. Questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to old business. And we'll start off with the capital project update with Brian.
Yes, sir. As I promised, on a monthly basis, I'll return to the commission with some updates and progress reports related to all of our capital programs and services. You heard me allude to our gym, our expansion of the Boys and Girls Club with our gymnasium. So we're underway there. I'll tighten up that schedule in regards to a pending ribbon cutting ceremony that'll be coming forward there. We have received and installed, and it's fully operational, the 2 new scoreboards at the fourplex. So now all 4 fields there at the fourplex have operational LED scoreboards that can be operated remotely. So very happy about that. Also, being installed at the fourplex is also our PA announcement system. So that'll be on board and ready to go, and that is to be utilized for all of our various tournaments that we hold there on that property. So that'll be nice and available. National anthem, all different individual team announcements that need to happen on the individual fields. So if we need to have a single announcement just on field 1, or a group announcement 1 through 4, or 2 and 3, or however we want to do it, we can program that system to be able to handle those particular needs. So it'll be very, very, very handy. It'll also be mobile, and when I say mobile, we'll be able to take the brain out of the system, put it into storage when not in use, so that we can preserve that operation, and then all of our speaker systems and everything are well preserved. Our vendor for this is the same vendor that we use down at the amphitheater field. So if you're familiar with hearing the tunes and the announcements come through during the Yavapai College men's soccer tournaments and the national tournament and the games that we host there in partnership with that organization, that is the same vendor, and we all know what the quality of product that we received there. So we're very, very confident in regards to this system that he's developed and organized for us. So doing good there. Some of our existing and remaining projects that we have, we'll actually discuss tonight. That one of those is our department master plan. And then we also have a couple of other projects still remaining on our schedule. 3 of those correlate to the Granville Unit 6 park development. One is a Ramada, the other is a pickleball court, and the last is a playground. And the playground happens to also be on our agenda this evening. So we'll be reporting in regards to that progress and that schedule as well, too. So that is our capital update.
Very good. Any questions or comments for capital?
Real quick, Brian, the Mountain Valley Park play structure,
Yes.
how's that coming along?
It's coming along very well. So we're looking forward to an updated. We have not received that updated schedule, but all indications have indicated that they are on that timeline. So I haven't received anything saying backwards whatsoever. And the ultimate goal is to have that installation complete in time for not only the upcoming youth soccer tournaments, but also summer recess, because that's going to be a very important factor out there. So we are ready to rock.
Very good.
Good. Anybody else? No. Hearing nothing, we'll go on to the department master plan update.
Yes, so included in your packet when you attended this evening, inside is a copy of that request for qualifications from vendors that has gone nationwide. That would be capital project number 450. So this is a 23-page document that is providing an understanding to all vendors, including consultants that would be assisting the lead of all of the components, work elements, and then also in products, all of the submittal requirements that coincide with that. You see over on page, for the project schedule, this would be page 10. The project schedule being lined out in regards to the issuance, publication, pre-submittal conferences, then The big date that's coming before us is March 4th. This will be the receipt of all statements of qualifications for those proposals. That is due the 4th at 3:30. We'll then convene evaluation of all of those proposals that have come in. We'll go through, we'll evaluate them, making sure that they've adhered to all of the minimum qualifications necessary for a qualifying proposal. We will conduct then interviews with those ranking proposals during the period of March 27th and 29th. Once that has been done, that top rated qualifier will then go through a negotiation process with the town. We hope to have that finalized no later than April 10th, so that at the April 25th Town Council meeting, staff can make those recommendations, gain the necessary approvals, so that a notice to proceed can be issued April 29th. And then we continue down the road through the next year from that point in time, in which a draft report is presented to the Parks and Recreation Commission on May the 12th, and a final report, formal presentation with acceptance on June 4th, 2020. Any questions that you may have concerning the master plan proposal and its related timeline?
I have
Looks
a
like
question,
an
Brian.
excellent schedule, a little better than what we'd initially looked at. I think this would work great.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the usual timeline to give them over a year to present your findings?
Yes, ma'am. Based upon a number of the different work elements that we are asking for, which are a number of public participation processes, interviews with stakeholders, interview with staff both within the department as well as its partnering departments, so Public Works, all of that interaction level, the analysis that they'll need to do of our previous master plan that was issued back in 2002. All of our policies, procedures, fee schedules, you name it. They're going to be interviewing you all, council, our community partners that we have with our different youth organizations, the Humboldt Unified School District administrators. It will take that time to create that analysis, review. They'll want to do the proper comparisons of our community on where we're at, how we're doing what we're doing, and then also what we're projecting as a community to become. And when I say all of those variables, I'm talking in regards to population, as well as also our service radius of operation, so that they can give us the guidance necessary so that we can grow as that population develops as well, and we can be ahead of the curve. In the big picture, one of the requirements that I had was that they help us align ourselves so that we can achieve somewhere in this window, hopefully it's within it, not beyond it by any means, to adhere to the standards of a gold medal recognized agency through the National Parks and Recreation Association. So what I'm saying is I want to put my money where my mouth is. And if we're going to be the best in northern Arizona, why not be the best in Arizona? And then on top of that, why not be the best in the nation for a community of our size? And I think we should always be aspiring to that every day. And so let's make sure that this master plan helps us do that.
Very good. Any other questions, comments? I know we've been waiting for this for quite a while, just another year to go, and we're
Yes,
going
sir.
to be chugging along. We're all waiting.
Okay, so I'm going to hold you to that, because over this next year, you're going to go, what did we do?
Right.
But we're
right.
doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're all looking forward to also is the end result that we're going to get.
Yes, sir.
I'm delighted you finally got it out.
Yes, ma'am. Well, it took us quite a bit of time, did it not? Yes, and I thank the commission for that, because we met for, oh man, I don't even want to know how many hours we met. But
Right.
we met, we analyzed, we really got down to the basic nuts and bolts of who are we, where do we want to go, who do we want to become, and let's figure that out. So, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Hearing nothing else, we'll move on to new business. We'll start with Granville Unit 6 Playground.
Yes, sir. So if you recall, we've had a number of different discussions. This is a Granville development, compliments of Universal Homes and Joe Contadino in that development. This is that property and parcel located at the intersection of Santa Fe Loop and Glassford Hill Road. So the park is in development right now. So some grading, mass grading has taken place. We have currently our parking lot, some roadway being established, entry and exit, some retaining walls for some of that roadway infrastructure, those types of things. But the next big components that are going to be coming forward are athletic field, restrooms, pickleball courts, a ramada, and then this little thing called a playground. And with that, that's going to be the focus of our discussion this evening. I've got a few guests that are with us this evening. Before I introduce our instructors for this program, yes, Jim, you are an instructor tonight. We have a few other folks that have either reached out to the department or we have reached out to them. I'm going to apologize. A few of our folks that would like to join us, unfortunately, have had some commitments jump up and keep them from being with us this evening. Not to mention also some illnesses. Unfortunately, there's some bugs still running around out there. So we hope to have them with us on our next proceeding meeting, which would be Tuesday, March 26th, which would be a continuing discussion of this subject. But tonight we have with us two of those members that staff is recommending to the commission for inclusion with this review group. And the first is Miss Shelby Welsh. Shelby is a speech language pathologist assistant over at Prescott Speech and Language Services. She works with children ranging from mild to severe speech, language, and cognitive communication disabilities. And so she does this and believes that these surroundings in her day-to-day work and her strong desire to inspire creativity and thinking through play activities qualifies her to be able to assist us in this activity. Also with us is Miss Laura Molinaro. And I probably messed that up, but I still got the thumbs up. Laura is a retired law enforcement and instructor, but she also comes to us with 30 years of experience in Special Olympics. She is the founding member of the Bradshaw Mountain Special Olympics. She is also currently the head coach of the Bradshaw Mountain Special Olympics track and field team. And she's just an awesome lady. She firmly believes in an all-inclusive worldwide society. And this begins locally with the community in which we reside and the community of those whom we interact with. When everyone is enabled to participate fully in activities that bring joy, social interaction, and health, then we are truly an equitable community. So I think that speaks volumes, not only in her actions, but in regards to her participation with us tonight. So if you would like to meet and greet with Miss Laura and Miss Shelby and ask them any additional questions, I will turn the floor over to them with my recommendation that they join us in this pursuit of knowledge and recommendations for development.
Very good.
Miss Laura, Miss Shelby.
Hi, I'm Laura.
Hi, Laura.
So maybe you could give a little about your guys' input, what we can look forward to. I mean, you've been around enough to educate us, because we don't have a lot. We've talked about inclusive playground for a long time, and we know it's been needed, but we've never really known where to go. We've tried to add a few things to the parks, but we're not educated enough to really realize actually what we need. So here's your
And let
opportunity.
me add, I think normally what we do when we look at playground equipment is we look at components. We go out to bid and we ask several vendors to come and give us proposals, and we look at those. We may be able to swap things out. But as you look at this commission, except for Brett, we probably don't use that playground equipment very much. And when it comes to special needs or being innovative, and that's a direction we want to go, we may not have the knowledge and ability to really be that way. And that's why we're reaching out. This is kind of a special opportunity that we can work with a vendor that's willing to be innovative from the beginning. And we want to bring community members in and help. And I think both of you would probably be a perfect fit with that. So with the idea we normally pick and choose, do you have any thoughts on what we could change? If you're familiar with our existing playground equipment, maybe there's some things that you've noticed that we could do better. And that's why we want to bring the community in and help and actually design some of these.
And maybe even give us an idea of how many out there are in for the need of, we don't even know that.
Okay, speaking from the standpoint of Special Olympics, as Brian mentioned, I've been involved for about 30 years or so with our local program. This year, Bradshaw Mountain Special Olympics numbers 100 on their team. Now, that doesn't mean that we have 100 track and field athletes. I would never be able to handle that. We just started our practices this past Saturday. I have approximately 25 to 30 athletes coming out. Our athletes range in age from 8 years of age to whenever they wish to stop participating. I've had an athlete as old as 84 years old on my team at one point. So I would expect that these individuals with which I work would participate and or use facilities if they were provided to them and they could access them. And when I say they could access them, it's that their parents and or care providers would be able to transport them or get them to the facility. So from that point of view, I would say something that is easily accessible for them to arrive at and then access the park. From, again, Special Olympics point of view, Special Olympics is the deciding factor for that participation is a cognitive disability or an intellectual disability, what used to be called in the past mental retardation, which has since been removed from the legislative language. But our main participant is an individual with intellectual disabilities. Now, what comes with that typically are some physical disabilities as well. I do have individuals who may have CP, cerebral palsy, or individuals who have other types of physical disabilities that they would use a walker or a crutch. I do have an athlete participate who uses a wheelchair but can still stand and do a little bit of walking. So it becomes the point, again, I've only been in the community since '87. I do not have any kids, so I haven't used, I've probably been here since before you were born, right? Yeah, okay. So I haven't really used any of the facilities other than the parks because I do play softball. So I'm usually out at the fourplex. But I would have to say anything that is easily accessible, that is easy to figure out how to use, something that is not too complicated. Also, a number of our athletes come with some balance issues. So anything that is, I'll call it merry-go-roundish, or something that spins them maybe too quickly, or is something that they could become dizzy or disoriented on, might not be a very good idea. But then again, there may be some who would like that. So not knowing the size of the project, what is available in funding, and just the square footage of the area would then dictate some of what you'd be able to put in that area, if that helps.
Very good.
That does help.
You bet.
It really does.
Have already allowed for wheelchair access
Perfect.
on a certain type of surface that allows the chair to move much easily to get to swings or whatever other piece of playground equipment they would like to participate in.
That's important because I do see playground facilities that have the wood chips or some loose material.
Right.
It makes it not only difficult for a wheelchair, but it also makes it difficult for any type of a crutch or a cane or a walker or anything for them to move on. So anything that makes it easier, the surface is still safe,
That
but
is
easy for them to
underway
move.
for Mountain Valley.
Perfect.
Park,
Yeah.
so.
Equipment-wise, I would say having swings with a full back support. Balance is a big issue with a lot of kids, not even just with disorder, any sort of special needs, just in general. Younger kids don't really have all of the muscle strength to hold up on the swings by themselves. I would say having a play structure without, or also with a ramp, not just steps, because a lot of kids with wheelchairs can't get out of it and walk up. Having activities that move and are sensory oriented are really good for learning. A lot of kids learn a lot better through play rather than just sitting and trying to teach something.
So being a speech pathologist, what are some of the things that you see that psychomotor or that hand education, I guess would be the best way to describe it, what types of things would be beneficial, as you would say, at a playground that you kind of foresee or wish for certain clients or certain people? What kind of items like that would you, I guess, be on your wish list if you could think of something or create something that would help benefit some of your clients?
Sensory sandbox that's accessible for kids in wheelchairs or kids on the ground. So maybe like a sandbox that
Elevated?
Yeah, an elevated sandbox. Maybe some moving. I don't know what they're called, like the tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, little spinny wheels.
Yeah, the spinning wheels. Things that move and are able to manipulate are really good for kids to learn how to use their motor skills.
Like the lack of a better word, the mazes where you kind of move the peg through the maze, stuff like that. Okay.
In your guys' experience, is there any items to stay away from or items to kind of restrict? I've done some volunteering at Special Olympics, and they seem to be receptible to just about everything, up to and including anything shiny and bright. And is there anything to kind of stay away from or frightens or, that kind of...
They do. What we've seen over the years, and what I've also trained in the police academy, and what we sometimes have observed on duty, would be individuals with on the autism spectrum who may have some sensory issues with anything that is too bright, too flashy, too loud, or moves too quickly.
Okay.
But that's not to say that there aren't individuals who would like that. So again, maybe it is something that in a separate area, there could be that type of attraction where there is a lot of activity and a lot of movement going on, but yet there is another area of the park that is somewhat subdued or quiet or peaceful, where they can do, as you were mentioning, some of that work with the different hands-on sensory things, or I like that idea of the elevated sandbox. That's really nice.
Okay. I think that's wonderful. I think the autism spectrum having not necessarily a separate section, but a section that's can be isolated and peaceful in a way. And something we talk about too, a tranquility area just for families in general. And that could be useful for just about everyone, not just certain individuals.
Because sometimes we do have athletes that on my team that sometimes they, for lack of a better term, they just go into meltdown mode.
Yeah,
and
just like
the parent or the provider, yeah, sometimes I go into meltdown mode too. But the provider or parent needs to take them off to the side and needs some type of a quiet area that is also safe for them, without trying to drag them off and into the car and back home, that they can calm them down.
Very good. I think that's wonderful.
So if kids are in wheelchairs, some I know are motorized, some arms, if we had like maybe bridges or ramps or something, would that be something they would utilize, like to go on a...
Like a racetrack?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at. Something where the kids hey, I can go up this hill and come down.
It
And
would be more directional then, and they can then learn, the turns. There is that type of a competition in Special Olympics for those who use wheelchairs. There are slaloms where we set up cones, so they have to go through cones. They have to stay within 2 lanes on the track. They can't knock the cone over, do certain circles. So that type of a process would be good.
But then, of course, you'd need a pretty solid surface.
Oh, yeah.
No dirt track, no wood chip.
And
It
actually
would have to
something
be
along the lines
cement.
of what the track is at the high school. We use the track out there, which is a rubberized track, and that works well.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking for.
Very good.
Thank you guys for your time.
So if I may, it sounds as if we're right in line with the introductions for our next guests, which are exactly going to be the folks that can help educate us in regards to some of the materials and equipments that should be considered in a project. Tonight we have with us Mr. Jordan Lindy. He is the president of Play It Safe Playgrounds. You folks might be very familiar with that company name. We have been very fortunate to procure some of Jordan's products. Most recently, that install that took place at George Anderson Park is exactly that product, Burke Playground products that we have. Mr. Lindy has with him tonight his team. I'll let him do those introductions, but he is going to help us through that process of our goal of understanding what an inclusive playground is, what it involves, and then reflect us and share with some possibilities in regards to design, construction, in which we will all be able to participate in that feedback process. So with that being said, Jordan?
Thank you, Brian. Thank you to the Commission. Quite honestly, our presentation is already done for us. So that was fantastic. Thank you. I'd like to introduce a couple people. We've got Jim Ash, who works for me, who is actually local to the area and your regional playground representative. Whitney Marquette is actually with Burke. She is their Southwest Regional Manager and Director, and she does actually a lot of courses on inclusive play all over the Southwest. So she's very knowledgeable in this. I've been building and designing playgrounds for the last 20 years. I've got 7 kids, which qualifies me as somewhat of an expert of kids. So, in fact, I was going to say my second youngest is Emma, and Emma was born at 26 weeks old. She was 1.5 pounds when she was born. She dropped down to 1 pound the first night of her life. She turned 16 this coming July, but we've had to deal with a lot of development challenges through her life up to now. She is a vibrant young lady. She's a fighter, and she's an amazing young lady, but it's taught me a lot about just having to deal with a child that's dealing with something other than what other kids deal with and how other kids respond to that. And it has been very informative for me. So forgive me a second while I bring this up. Brian, that's okay. I'll find it. It's got to be here somewhere.
Have it on the screen down there.
Thank you. So we're going to start out talking, and forgive me, I'm a mover when I talk, so I'm trying to stay in front of the mic here. First of all, and I just want to play off what you were talking about, the importance of parks. What feeds into that is the importance of play, and that's something that's extremely important to us, and I just want to talk about it for a couple of minutes, why we take this so it's so important to us, and we really take this with a great amount of emotion. The physical benefits that come from play is coordination, balance, reflexes, gross and fine motor skills, weight control, overall health, sleeping and eating habits, emotional benefits. The express, regulate, and process our feelings. Understanding of empathy as you're helping other kids play on the playground. Understanding what play is all about, understanding our bodies, understanding what we're capable of doing, understanding risk. Self-esteem, from one day going on the small slide, the next day taking the challenge and going on the large slide, or going on the small climber and then going up to the tall climber. These are things that the kids build all on the playground. self-confidence as well. Some of the social benefits, negotiation, talking to the other kids, figuring out who's going to go down the slide first, cooperation, collaboration, compromise sometimes. Friendships are built on playgrounds. Rules, understanding rules, that there are rules that have to be adhered to sometimes on playgrounds. Communication benefits, spoken and unspoken. Productive expression. Some of the cognitive benefits, sight, smells, touch, sounds, decision making. Which direction am I going to go on the playground? Cause and effect. If I climb up the slide when it comes kids coming down the slide, there's some cause and effect that goes on with that. I might fall down. I might get hit. Planning. Talk to your buddies. Which way are we going to go on the playground? What are we going to pretend this playground is today? Is it a rocket ship? Is it a castle? What is it? The creative benefits, role playing, problem solving. At this point, and this is a very, and I should have prefaced by this, this is a sort of a long presentation. We want this to be both ways. Stop. We're going to try to go quickly so you're not here all night. If there's something you want us to stop on, make us stop, ask questions. We want this to go both ways and have a dialogue. I'm going to start off with this. I believe I have. And we got some videos in this. Excuse me. I don't believe on this. We're going to start talking about inclusive play, and I'm going to bring Whitney up for this part.
First of all, the wonderful young lady that came and talked to me and said they had to lock the front door, so we have to go out the back.
Okay.
I assume someone knows how to cheat. That would not be me. So, hi guys. Again, I'm Whitney. We do a lot of these inclusive presentations, and Jordan and I were just saying that these two ladies are exactly perfect for this because you guys pretty much address almost everything we're going to talk about. Yep. We'll just get a little more specific on what the rules are and what the industry standards are and that kind of thing for inclusive and accessible. So first thing, inclusive and accessible, a lot of times it's the Kleenex of facial tissue. They're actually not exactly the same thing. Not are all thumbs or fingers, but not all fingers or thumbs. Most accessible playgrounds are inclusive. Most inclusive playgrounds are accessible, but that's not necessarily the same thing. So, ADA, access to public recreation and play areas is a civil right approached and entered by all users, ramps, and barrier-free. So, the ADA is saying that if it is an accessible, inclusive, approved playground, everyone of any ability level will be able to play on it. Not necessarily play on every single component, but be able to access the play area. So, accessible. I can stand up, I am right here. I can access this. If this is the play area, I am accessible. If it is inclusive, maybe I can climb on here, and I can be up top if I'm more able-bodied, but inclusive, the wheelchair perhaps, or the person in a mobility device can come up beside me, and we can play adjacent to each other. That's inclusive. We can all play around each other and next to each other. Accessible is I can actually get up to it no matter what. So that's kind of the differentiation there. So defining inclusive design, there's a wide variety of components. You want to be able to play, if you're more abled, less abled, they've got to be engaging, enriching, experienced in different ways. If you're more able-bodied or less able-bodied, you want to be able to kind of be around each other and play on it and at your ability level. You want to be able to interact with each other. And there's this thing called a universal design. So NC State, North Carolina State University, did a full study. So anything that you're talking about that could be ADA accessible, be it a concert venue or a bank or a playground, whatever it is, it has to follow these guidelines. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, because when you're designing a universal design, accessible area, structure, playground, these are the things that you want to make sure you take into account. So the first thing is design of products and environments to be usable by all people to the greatest extent possible without the need for adaptation or specialized design. And this means the children, the parents, anyone that's taking the caretakers, whoever's there, can all access these areas. So I'm going to go through these a little quickly. This is a little technical, but some of them are pretty important to take into consideration. So equitable use. The design is useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities. Okay, that makes sense. Flexibility in use. There's different ways that you can use a lot of the different components. It's not just one specific thing. Simple and intuitive use. Somebody was alluding to that earlier, that it needs to be simple and clear. So, for example, if you have there's a thing called the transfer station that we'll go into in a minute, and that is usually where someone in a mobility device can go, and they kind of scooch maybe off of their wheelchair, and they go and they can go up, and then they can go down a slide. Maybe that doesn't necessarily have a sign on it that says, wheelchair people come here and you go up, but it's something that is intuitive use. I can go there, I can do it. You can also do it, it can be stairs, or it can be something that's even more fun and more inclusive. Maybe it looks like a tree stump or something like that. That brings a little more fun and whimsy into it. So that's what we're saying, simple and intuitive use. We want to make sure you can look at it and you can figure it out, and different ability levels can do that as well. Perceptible information communicates necessary information effectively to the user, regardless of their ambient conditions or sensory abilities. Very similar to Principle 3. That might be another thing. You always want to make sure you have a border around your playground of some sort, so you can separate inside here is the play area, outside of here is the not play area. And that could speak to something with the, maybe on the autistic spectrum, inside here is the colorful, fun, spinny use area. Maybe inside this other area is the more calm, we don't run and play as loud over here kind of thing. And you can look at the play areas and you can see the difference without necessarily having big signs and things that say it on there. And you can use signs too. Signs are great. We love signs. But you want to make sure maybe you have Braille on them, or it's in different languages, or that kind of thing. So you want to be thinking about not just the 90% of people, but everybody. Tolerance for error. Design minimizes hazards. So most playground companies, when they're designing a playground, there's specific things that we know. You have to be this far away from a slide. You have to put this post this far away. You guys don't have to worry about that stuff. If you have somebody who, it's a reputable playground company, we're going to take that into account. We all know those things. But there are specific rules to make sure that these are safe for everyone. There's, turning radius for a wheelchair. There's all these things that we're taking into account. Low physical effort. We're talking about ramps. You want to make sure, yes, if we're going to have a fully inclusive playground, you want some ramp systems going on there. But there are specific guidelines, what the rise and run of it can be, how wide it has to be, what the turn area, how often a turn area is. So these are all things that have to be taken into account when we're designing these playgrounds. And finally, size and space for approach and use. Kind of alluded to that as well. So you want to make sure that we've got enough room for everybody. There's going to be, two wheelchair ramp. We want to make sure there's enough room for all of that. So these things can be all taken into account. There's a ton of different ways that kids can be different in abilities. There's several studies that have been done. I'll point out the statistic here. There's one study that says almost 5.5%, almost 6% of all children have some sort of disability, up to 15%. That's a different level of what are we calling a disability. Are we saying a minor hearing disability, but you've got a hearing aid, so you're okay? Are we talking about fully wheelchair? Are we talking about the autistic spectrum? So it kind of depends on what the 5.4% would be more mobility device usage, full hearing loss, blind, that kind of thing. 15% is more autistic spectrum, slower learning abilities, that kind of a thing. But that's up to 15%. Overall population, now we're including 19% of the overall population. 1 in every 5 people out there has some sort of disability or mobility device. So let's say, grandma or grandpa is has a walker or mobility device, but they're wanting to take their kids to the playground. We want to make sure that they're going to be able to be there too. And if they're the caretaker, they can use all of these things. So this is not just necessarily the kids playing on it, but it could also be your older special needs kids that want to get out there, get out there and play and swing too. And I think and that's another thing we want to say. So inclusive communities. I was at a meeting this morning, and it was a school district meeting, and they said that school next door has a program where it's the buddy system. They have a high population of special needs kids there, and they've matched up one more able-bodied kid with one less able-bodied kid. They're all learning from each other, and they spend time together, and they go to events together and that kind of thing. And that just breeds this community of acceptance and inclusivity for everyone. So we want to make sure that the whole community can play and enjoy this playground if you're fully able, less able. And it's really important to bring the community together. And I think we have No. Okay. Do you want to do this?
Sure.
Okay.
So again, we want to consider a full range of children when we're designing. I mean, what you see here is, and we're going to talk a little bit about items as we're going through this. This is one of our drum panels, which brings music into a playground as well, and we'll be talking about that some more. But we want to consider full range of children We want to have different types of play out there. We don't want just swings or just spinners. We want to make sure there's a full range of plays. Include mix of activities in certain areas. We don't want just one area to just be, oh, that's just music and that's just this. We want to mix it up a bit in different areas. Choose various heights and challenge levels throughout the playground. And not all events need to be accessible. I mean, there's children that want to come up next to kids that are maybe on a climber. They may not have the ability to get on the climber themselves, but they want to be up next to them to be with their buddy as their buddies experience it. Doesn't mean they're going to be able to climb it, and that's okay. They want to be close. We want to select elements that can be used, again, in different ways. You talked about the items of the knobs, the manipulative knobs. There you go, right there. That's our car panel next to a bell panel. Play similar types, different difficulties levels together. You might have a couple slides at different heights close to each other. Many components benefit multiple areas, so you may have a climber that's connecting a 2 to 5 and a 5 to 12 area that actually 2 to 12 kids can use to all come together. Most exciting element should be usable by all. So if your most exciting elements, the main play structure, you want to make sure that we're having ramps to get up and down that so all the kids can come together and utilize it. Talk about surfacing a little bit. There's usually always a lot of questions when it comes to surfacing, and we're not really going to be advocating one over the other, but we're just going to discuss pros and cons a little bit, let you guys eventually make the choice on what you want. But we follow AS Team 12, F1292 on impact attenuation and F1951 on accessibility when it comes to play surfacing, and just is really the only slide I have on it to show in inclusive areas what you're primarily going to see.
Is that, real quick, is the surfacing, is that either or is it combined into one?
It can be combined, and it's one of the reasons I was on these slides here on the first one where it says engineered wood fiber and pour in place underneath. That was an inclusive playground that used both, married both together, primarily for budgetary reasons. They would have loved to have done all pour-in-place rubber, but their budget wouldn't allow for it. So they went with the engineered wood fiber, which in and of itself isn't the optimal surfacing, but it is, if it's maintained properly, it is considered accessible. So they're able to provide an accessible playground within their budget and get as much play value within the entire area as possible. Rubber tiles are a nice way to go. Really, between the rubber tiles and the pour-in-place rubber, not a lot of difference other than how the rubber is structured and put together. It's a nice unitary surface. And then on the last slide, I have the pour-in-place rubber and artificial turf, both accessible surfacings. And in this case, they married them together, so it wasn't just a sea of rubber. It almost appears like the playground sitting on an island in a sea of turf, and it really is a neat result that came out of it. And actually, that artificial turf has resilient surfacing underneath it as well. So if the kids fall off of something onto that artificial turf, it does give them the right amount of resiliency. So we can talk about, wanted to show you the ramps, paths, and transfer stations. We talked about the double wide ramps, so 2 wheelchairs can go up at the same time or go up and down next to each other. We also have the single ramps. Whitney had talked about the transfer station, and here's the child. This is the point where they stop next to it, and they can transfer themselves off, or with the aid of a caregiver, get themselves onto the playground. And it's surprising, there is a lot of kids that may not have use of their legs, but with their upper body, they can scoot all over a play structure. And this is you'll find this on every playground, a transfer station, every new playground, I should say. Everybody designs them to be accessible, and this is the main entry point on just about every current playground that comes out. Ramps and paths allow the kids to access this entire play structure, and you can see this is a structure that has a lot of ramps. There's paths around it, and this one's under a sea of artificial turf, but there's a lot of ways to get in and around and through this playground.
I was just curious, is the artificial turf in comparison to like the rubberized pour-in-play, is that a pretty comparable product price-wise and quality-wise, or is it just kind of one of those? No, it depends on what style you use or what have you. I'm just curious.
Price? No, it's a great question. Price-wise, it's very comparable. In the one picture, you saw how we did the rubber and the turf together. That was intentional in the fact that rubber will take the wear and tear of kids running on it, especially right off and directly around the playground, probably a lot better than the turf will. Today's turf is very heavy duty. They do a nice job with it, but child continually coming off a slide or right around one climber all the time, that area is going to wear different than the rest of the area. I would say in the areas where they're just running around and enjoying do the turf, but for me personally, I like to have the rubber right around the high traffic zones.
Cool. Thank you.
Excellent question. So the swings. With swings, you get the balance, coordination, vestibular growth. With the seat swing, you're going to get that stability. This is our Freedom Inclusive swing. What if I have videos embedded throughout this, and I've forgotten exactly where. It's not on this page. So it was a long presentation. So, but there's stability. This is meant for a child to be able to be set in there. It locks in place so they can swing freely. There's no fear that they're gonna fall out. Obviously, you want a caregiver there with them. They're very comfortable. They'll actually, somebody my size will have to squeeze in a little bit, but it'll lock down over it. It's surprising, and it's surprisingly comfortable. We also have our disc swing where you can get a group of kids together hanging on in there, and that's a lot of fun. It's our Volito swing. It's a blast. We have our connection swing, which is a wonderful way to be bringing the caregiver and the child together, as you can see. And the way this swing works, actually, I believe I do have a video of this one. If I can find the cursor. We didn't practice the videos on here, so. Can't hear it.
You can probably hold that mic up to it.
Really become popular because it develops emotionally strong children. And looking at natural behavior of parents have been swinging on swing sets with children for a long time, but there's never been a great way to facilitate it in a way that allows them to have physical touch.
We're all immersed and the busyness of daily life, and I think we're really lacking those kind of close face-to-face connections, and the connection swing really offers that opportunity in a unique way.
The connection swing is really intended to promote attunement with infants and adult caregivers. We also saw that when it came to adolescent siblings playing with one another, there was also that strong bond as well. Kids of all ages really enjoy swinging together and enjoying the experience.
One of the most unique features is this amazing design, this mechanism that holds the backrest up in place while a parent, a caregiver, a friend is getting into the swing.
What we've developed is a backrest where the child is sort of laying in a more reclined position. And beyond that, the parent has free use of both of their hands, so they're able to actually really give the child good support, and that's comforting for the child, and that adds to the bonding experience. Swing sets in the past have been not so inviting for adults to sit in for any duration of time, and we know that a parent is only going to be at the park as long as they're comfortable. So like our Novo line, we wanted to really promote comfort for an adult user.
We are bringing really multiple generations together. Why put parents or caregivers on the outer perimeter of the playground? Why not bring them together and play together? Kids want that. Parents want that. Let's provide experiences that can facilitate those opportunities.
Burke's all-new connection swing, bringing parents and children together. This is Play That Moves Me.
We're pretty excited about that. It's not working out, Brian. What did I do? Presentation just like that. Hey, there we go. Thank you. Sorry about that. Excuse me. This is our Air Venture. This is an exciting new product that we have. I believe I have a... Nope, not on this one. This is like a stand-up swing. You hold on to it. I've actually been on it. It's a lot of fun. It's actually very safe. You'll see on the ends of it a big bumper. It's a big rubber bumper that's extremely safe. Again, a couple people my size were on it. This thing is very heavy duty, a lot of fun, a lot of movement, bringing teamwork, bringing kids together on playgrounds. Our Zip Venture, you're going to love this. You're going to love it. I'll let it speak for itself. This is just cool.
The Zip Venture Freedom is an interactive riding component that is suspended from a cable, which is very different than a track or a rail. These can be very rigid and static, where the cable allows you a lot more freedom, a lot more movement. It's a lot more dynamic ride. The Duo version has a single disc type seat, which is suspended from a single chain. It requires a lot of core strength, being able to hang on.
We always want to create play events that have varying levels of challenge, and the Zip Venture Duo is an example of that. A lot of the kids would start off sitting on the seat, then they would jump into the seat, or they'd even jump on and stand up on the seat, and it really creates a different experience level. It gives them opportunity to create more balance, upper body strength, and coordination.
The Duo version has a platform at each end, which is a loading platform and unloading platform. You can ride the component in both directions.
Playground designers can bring as many of the Zip Venture Duo and Freedoms into their play environment as they want because it shares a common post that allows you to save on both space and surfacing costs. With Zip Venture Freedom, everyone can experience the fast and exciting ride that takes kids from one end of the playground to the other.
Kids that are not able to ride on a standard disc seat are able to ride in the Freedom seat, which latches and keeps them in place. It's very secure. It provides the same type of ride with all the dynamics going on.
Having multiple seat options in the play environment allows children of all abilities to play together, which helps them develop empathy, understanding, and cooperation.
One of the important opportunities that Zip Venture Freedom provides is this experience of intergenerational play, bringing parents and caregivers into the play environment and actively participating with their kids. We know that when this happens, that kids and families are going to spend more time on the playground. It's really an important piece of play that moves you.
Berk's all-new Zip Venture Freedom and Duo brings play to everyone. This is play that moves me.
This one really excites me because when I see that, I mean, it really brings you back to a childhood, and you're thinking about, okay, I'm on two sides of this canyon, and I'm going zipping across it, and I'm racing with my buddy that's next to me. And the fact that it brings kids together, a child that may need to be in a chair that's enclosed with a child that doesn't need that, but yet they're having the exact same experience and playing the same game, the same imagination at the same time. To me, it's thrilling. And I think it's just amazing, amazing piece of equipment.
Jordan, have you guys worked out like a platform for transfer in that Zip Venture line? Like the elevated platform, it's like slightly elevated from like the parking area?
Yes. There was that sort of the side platform to it to help transfer that child
It's like
onto the platform.
A little loading ramp, I guess, would be the best way to do it.
It's not so much a ramp as it is the step platform, and I think the assumption is with that seat, they would need a caregiver more than likely to help them on there anyway.
Okay.
So, and I love it was all multiple kids and the teamwork. I mean, you talk about growth and the need for play. I mean, the teamwork and socialization just that ride alone would create. You talked a little bit about spinning earlier. We have a lot of opportunities for spinning. Uses a child's weight and momentum. You can do it as a single user or as a group. Our Volta inclusive spinner, this is an amazing item as well. This is multiple seating positions for this spinner. There's outward seating for children to be able, if they're in a mobility device, to be able to sit in there. And inward seats, there's a seat in the very center for the advanced riders to practice their balance. And I believe on this one we have a very short video as well.
At
Burke, we really try to push play that moves you. And what really gets me excited about the Volta Inclusive Spinner is that it really draws children together. The flowing lines, the actual spinning, the children running around, it's a very dynamic play piece, and it really gets kids moving.
Really, our strength is with this active, fitness-based, motion-based play. And when we observe the children at our test site, you just see everyone flocking to the Volta because everyone can play together, children of all abilities. When you think about it in a little bit bigger perspective, the product really is the centerpiece of the play space because it draws kids in with the motion, just the sheer excitement of kids running around the outside pushing it, and kids that are typically not able to participate in play events like this, where the Volta can easily transfer from their wheelchair, for example.
The inspiration for the Volta was mainly taken from nature. The flowing lines on the outside are really reminiscent of waves and continuous motion. So even when the Volta spinner is not spinning, it does have a sense of movement and excitement.
You know, part of our movement at Burke is to develop products for a play space that are not only a lot of fun, but they also benefit the kids from a developmental standpoint.
The Volta is really geared to be a social spinning space, and it draws children of all abilities together so that no one is left out of the fun. Burke's all-new Volta Inclusive Spinner. This is play that moves me.
And yes, it does have a governor on it, so it won't go too fast.
Oh, man.
Oh, please.
We can't.
So when you see the Volta spinner, it's pretty much everyone's favorite, but take a look at the picture that you see up here. There's a mobility device on the side. Can anyone tell me which kid belongs to that or it belongs to? You can't. They're all playing. They all have the same smile. You have no idea, and they're just having a great time together. The other thing, someone was mentioning earlier, core strength and upper body strength. When we do have these very ADA-specific, inclusive, accessible designs, we want to take into account that lack of core strength a lot. So most of the time, we're going to have a slight slant to it. So the saddle seats on the Volta spinner, all the ones facing outward, all have a slight slant, so you don't have to hold yourself all the way up completely. You can have a slant back. The same with the Freedom Swing and the zip line that have those seats. So anytime you have that, we're always going to want to make sure that we take into account that. So that's on these, they're very specific ADA and inclusive pieces. Okay. Hello again. So another thing that we want to take into account is if you are in a mobility device that you cannot get out of. So there is no transferring. That is another thing. So there are a few different options out there for that. This one is our inclusive orbit. You can get your mobility device directly on, and you can lock in place. You can have someone holding beside you, behind you. There's a place to stand. There's a place to sit. So everyone can be on there at the same time, and they can be spinning. Then there are things like the Comet spinners, which have historically been probably the most popular thing on a playground. The kids love to spin. But the thing on these, you can get in if you use the ones without quite as many bars, and you can sit down in that middle piece. So there's ways to do that if you want to do a little bit more inclusive as well. The same with this Rev 8 spinner. You'll see in a video, one of the case studies in just a couple of minutes, that you can have someone that has to be in a mobility device or can't hold themselves up. They can sit on that bottom and they can still be swinging and playing with their friends. So there's a bunch of different options on this, and every single kid on the playground can be on this together at the same time. The Cruiser. This is another one where there's space on one side where you can pull into the wheelchair mobility device. You can lock it in place. There's room for two. And then you've got the bench seat on the other side so they can be together. And then there's room for the kids on the very outside. There's the blue panels there. You can be standing and doing it, or the kids can be, or the parents can be pushing them back and forth. So everyone, again, on the playground can be playing on this guy at the same time. It's really cool. It's really fun. And we've got a good video of that in another one. Brand new piece this year is the Orb Rocker. So you can see the blue one on the bottom there. The seats on the outside were made without bars around the perimeter, but they've got a bar that you can hang onto in the front there, so you can scooch from a mobility device onto that seat, and the seat is leaning backwards a little. So once you start looking at a little more of these pieces, you'll be able to kind of differentiate the ones that are more, inclusive and ADA adaptable than the ones that are just strictly made for 100% able-bodied kids. Also, the middle section there, you could scooch onto and you can sit down. Themed riding toys are huge. This is such a good thing. There are no signs necessary. There's no anything needed. That is cool. That is fun, and kids want to go to it and play on it. You can learn, what is the name for this? What sound does a bee make? All those kind of things can be made when you're talking about the theming. Climbers are huge. That's how you get your upper body strength, and you can kind of be playing, the wobbly web down there on the side. If you fall off, or you're playing duck, duck, goose, you're out, or who's in charge, or the kids that are, the girls that are ready to just tween and talk and play and hang out, they have a place to do that. So climbers are really good meeting places and transfer places. Climbers are definitely where you get a lot of your upper body strength, and there are a million of them out there, and we'll definitely want to make sure that you take a look at a lot of those and just get some good feels for what you like and what you don't. Overhead events, somehow when we were 8, we could all go across monkey bars, and now we can't anymore. So we want to make sure that we have those around for kids to be able to go on. There's rigid ones, there's movable ones, there's rocking ones, there's bar ones that kind of are like zip lines. There's a whole bunch of different options for those out there, but you want to make sure that you include those. When we were talking about some kids on the autistic spectrum that need a place maybe to not be in the middle of the action, a lot of times on public playgrounds there's a kind of a discrepancy of what do we like, what do we not. Do we like enclosed spaces? Do we like tunnels? Is that a place where people can hide? Animals can get in? Not so much. However, if you're a kid on the autistic spectrum and you need a place to get away, this is a good place for it. So to each their own. That's a decision you guys can make, and you can debate back and forth on how you want to go about doing that. But they are good places that you can kind of go and take a minute and relax. Balance beams, platforms, and steps, you can have them higher, lower for the little kids, for the bigger kids, and they're really, really great for sharing, and they're really good for the theming. If you fall off into the lava, you're out, and you get balance, and they're just a lot of fun. One thing I want to say about the slide, there's a billion slides out there. They can be metal, they can be plastic, they can be rubber, they can be tall, they can be short. There is one that is 100% ADA accessible, inclusive. That. So you see the roller slide down here, with the purple one with the rollers on it. So if a child has, and you can tell me if I'm saying this right, cochlear implant, so they can hear. If you go down most any slides, specifically plastic slides, it can absolutely short out like that. It doesn't cause really harm to the kid, but it's like $1,000 to recalibrate these things. The roller slide is the one that will not do that. So, no static. You want to have 100% inclusive. You've got some of your cochlear implants, and there are a lot of cochlear. That's one that you want to make sure that you take into account. There's also roller boards. If you don't want to maybe put that on the playground, but you want that same kind of physical, tangible experience, there's a way you can do that where you can slide down and you kind of pull yourself across with beams across. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. And imaginative play elements. Again, a million. We can have a train. We can have a corner store. There's a lot of different ways. We've got a clubhouse, playhouse down there. Kind of looks like Dr. Seuss, which is really cool for either the little kids or the kids that just need to get out of the noise and the busyness for a while. Activity panels. Again, thousands of these guys. There's airplanes, and there's different education levels. You can do braille panels. You can do Spanish and English panels. You can do Leaves of the World. There's anything you can do. There's the Simon Says, the memory games. There's a bunch of different ones out there. And these are really great because they're all able to be ground level, or they can be elevated. So when we're talking about a ramp system, you want to make sure that there's a ramp to somewhere, not just a ramp to the other side. So along the way, there's stuff to do. So you want to put some panels up there on the top. So if you're on the top level with your mobility device, you can stop and do something and play with your friends. And activity panels is where these come in. And then the sensory elements, there's a bunch of musical instruments. We're just coming out with a whole new line this year of them that actually really sound like musical instruments. They're not tinny like the ones have been in the past. So a sound garden is something that's really, really popular in these type of so when you were saying the sanctuary area or that kind of thing, a sound garden, a music garden, great thing that you can do in those kind of situations as well. Sensory elements, the time, the clocks, all of those things that make noise. The telephone game that you see on the bottom left there, one of the most popular things that we put on them because everybody loves those and they're a lot of fun. We do have a raised sand table. That's there. Also, water tables are really popular because kids want to know things. And how do you learn that when you put sand in your hand, it goes through your fingers unless you keep them closed? You have to do it. And this is where you learn how to do those kind of things. So it's education and it's fun because it's, you're allowed to be getting dirty. I'm supposed to be playing with sand. Awesome. You also have outdoor painting areas and painting tables with paints that you would just spray down and doesn't do any damage to the wall. Seating areas. We now have seats that look like playground equipment on the playground. They don't look out of place. And seating and table elements that connect onto the playground. So, for example, the one off to the top right there with the orange top on it, that is actually connected to, there could be a slide right there on the other side. It is in the playground, so the caretakers or kids that want to break, anyone can actually go and sit and be inside. And it's ASTM standards, it's all those kind of things, so it's heavy duty enough and it's made to be a part of the playground. I'll give you a shade.
Every playground needs shade. We're not going to talk a lot about it other than say we believe in shade. And there's a lot of creative ways you can make shade. There's not just one way about it. This just happens to show a freestanding canopy. My next slide shows a lot of integrated shade on a play structure. So we didn't do one big canopy. We wanted, in this particular state, they wanted the kids to make sure they had spots of sun and not just be, covered in 100% shade. Not saying that there's really a right or wrong way. It's just what the preference is. But we do want to make sure that, especially in Arizona, they do have some areas to go that are shaded. We're going to do 2 case studies. This won't take too long. The first case study we're going to do is Friendship Park in Avondale, Arizona. This is a design that I worked on with another one of our regional managers, and we worked with Kirk Haynes with Avondale. This is their flagship park in Avondale called Friendship. The park, and this is an interesting project because we actually the beginning, it was a very quick project, very fast-paced, similar to this one. But we went to one of their public events, and it was some sort of street fair. And we had a booth there, and we brought dozens and dozens of catalogs. We were dragging parents and kids in there, handing them catalogs and telling the parents and kids, just go through it and circle the stuff you think are fun. Just circle those things. And they'd go through the catalog, and we said, rip out the pages that you think are fun and circle those items. And we took all those pages, there's hundreds of things, and we cataloged them. We went through everything, climbers, slides, themed play, colors, and we compiled all this information, made pie charts over what was most popular, what they picked out, and from that information we designed 3 distinctly different playgrounds based on these designs for their Parks and Rec Commission to take a look at. And they then took those 3 designs, put it on a website for the community to go to, and the community voted on their favorite of the 3 designs. And this is the park that they turned out with. And the only really criteria we had from the city was we want this to be an inclusive playground. So the park changed focus to students with and children with varying abilities. Many were using wheelchairs and walkers, and the new playground to get all the kids moving physically, that was high on their list. We wanted equal access to the play space, full and equal participation in play. We wanted to accommodate kids with all different varying physical abilities, and they wanted spinning, swinging. They wanted all different experiences out there. So, and this is a quote from Kirk Haynes when it was all done. He said the outcome was spectacular. He felt that their citizens felt their decisions into the playground design mattered. That was big for him, that it mattered and that it made a difference in the recreational opportunities. And I'll show you just a quick video of how it turned out. Just music.
What was their surfacing? Was that sand? Or?
No, that was all wood chips. It was
Oh,
7 truckloads, 700 cubic yards of wood fiber out there, and then you saw we used rubber to make sure that there was an even transition point to some of the swings and to the structure that had the ramp system. And then I am going to let Whitney do our next case study.
Okay. So this is Owen's playground. So Owen he's the star of the picture here in the front. And one day he went into kindergarten, and his mom went to pick him up from school, and they couldn't find him on the playground at the end of the day. And then finally they looked around and realized he was stuck behind a playground because there wasn't room for him to move to get his wheelchair back out. So then he had to pretty much just take an iPad and have it on the playground with him, and he was playing with that while everybody else was on the playground. Well, Mom was not okay with that. That was not the way that was going to happen for the next 5 years. So they went to the community. They did a lot of fundraising. They vowed they were going to do something about it, and they did an amazing job. We have a little video, but this is Owen. It makes me happy because I can go play with my friends on the playground. Harper, little girl on the side, can play with her friends no matter what it is. They get the confidence. They can play with their friends instead of just sitting out there. Broken down the barriers that nobody even knew were existing there, and now there's plenty of opportunities for everyone to play together. It builds the community. So we are going to show you the video on this, but this is in Illinois, and I don't know how to talk this part. Yeah. So we've got Owen telling you why this is amazing, and then we've got the community members.
Where I see the difference for Owen that an inclusive park brings is his confidence level. In the past, he had to sit on the blacktop during recess, sometimes play with an iPad because he couldn't even get on the equipment. So it really isolated him from his peers. And now I see the confidence not only that he can go and do everything that his friends are doing, they'll pick him up and they'll put him on one of the structures.
Makes me happy because I can go play with my friends on the playground.
But it also teaches him that if you see something, you can always make a change. It was the two of us who really brought the idea to the community and pushed forth with it. The community really got behind this initiative. Initially, people struggled to understand why it was so important to build a park for one child in a wheelchair. And I said, it's not my son in a wheelchair. It's for kids of all abilities to really be inclusive.
My favorite thing is the piano and the swing and the rain thing. It would be fun if my school had something like this. Me and my friends go on the rocking thing, cruiser. My favorite things are either these platform swings that look almost like the turtle shells or the swings themselves. The swinging makes me feel happy.
The kids who gave input on the playground structure, they wanted something that was inclusive, where there were double-wide ramps, where there's more climbing structures, where they could play with kids like my son. And I hope that the community continues to see this and push it forward so it really kind of grows. And now it's giving my son confidence. I've made great friends, and we're really looking forward to doing the next park.
So that's pretty much exactly why you guys already know you need one, but this is what the community is going to be like after you finally get your playground installed. So I think that's everything we have for today. So tried not to go too much into tremendous detail, but we're always here to answer any specific questions you guys have. So.
Well, that was great. That was some fantastic equipment, some equipment that we probably typically do not look at. You mentioned that a lot of this equipment is intuitive. So let me ask you guys, Laura, the stuff that you saw in those videos, the equipment for the special needs, do you have the same idea that the kids, it would be intuitive for them to do and use a lot of this?
Yeah, I think that I liked everything that I saw about it. I would love to have someone tell me that you had an unlimited budget to be able to do all that.
So would we.
Yeah, I know. I used
think
to
you're
budget
at the wrong meeting.
for years. No, I'm well aware of that. But I think as much inclusion as you can have and as much accessibility, I like the points of the parents and providers being able to participate along with them. That double swing, the front to back swing was phenomenal. My one question was on the swing that was just the child with the bar that came down. Are those bars padded? Do you know? Is there any type of padding on those bars at all?
They're not padded.
Okay. I think it's wonderful. I would vote for a surface that is accessible for just about everybody. I don't want to see any wood chips, but that's just me.
And you know, we have some of these pieces of equipment out of George Anderson that they put in for us. We have the swing, we have the disc, we have the merry-go-round. Mm-hmm. So some of, if you get a chance to go by George Anderson Park, you'd see there's a few pieces there, and they're used by everybody. I live across the street from that park, and it's unbelievable how we brought families and kids back together at the park. And we have a lot of the same thing where you said the seating was integrated inside the park. And it's all being utilized. And we're seeing more and more kids that mom and dad are bringing now, once they realize, I can put them in the swing and just push. He can stay in there because I can lock him in. And it is being utilized. And we have a few of those pieces, and we're seeing that they are being used.
Well, and I really appreciate the presentation with the videos because I'm a visual learner, I guess. So that makes all the difference than just seeing a static picture and seeing how things flow and how the kids get up and down and how big the ramps are. That really put it into perspective for me. And I don't see, being a big kid myself, it just makes you want to go out and join them.
We do it all the time.
Yes.
Every playground we see, we try to compare and contrast.
And once we kind of have an idea what our budget's going to be for this park, we can start really.
But was it less than $100 million, Brian?
Not by much, though.
99 million.
Some of the gazillion thing.
So we actually brought a bunch of catalogs. And our call to action for the commission and any involved would be over the next few days, go through those catalogs. Talk to kids, grandkids, neighbor kids, find out what some of the likes are, take some of the past experiences and the professional opinions and mark the things that you like. And if you could get those back to Brian, we will work to bring these into the playground design. But make sure you take one with you. We'll have them for you as you're getting ready to leave.
Excellent.
Very good. Thank you so much.
If you like videos, there are more videos on the website of every single thing that we have. There's a video. So if you can't figure out what it would do, just go to the website.
If it's not intuitive for us.
Exactly.
Well, very good. Thank you so much for coming up and presenting tonight.
That was an excellent presentation.
Okay. So now, Brian, I have a review committee, staff recommendations.
Well, that was exactly my beginning process in introducing you to Laura and Kelsey. Thank you. So then we'll have a couple more folks, as I was indicating earlier this evening. Unfortunately, they could not make it due to some scheduling conflicts as well as some illnesses in their family. So they will also be coming on board with us. The beauty of this presentation tonight was to educate us here in attendance, but also to share this as our first motion of outreach to our community. So we will continue that conversation going forward. We'll use our media sources to gather that output, and that's what we want to be able to collect. So this is going to be a very nice scaled community interaction process. Our schedule here, as we begin tonight, February 12th gathering, we're going to take the next 2 weeks with that outreach and gather more input. You are strongly part of that process. We'll be able to give that information and feedback to our Burke Play It Safe representatives so they can join back with us again on Tuesday, February 26th. From that, they're going to provide us with some specific direction and input. from that. They will be working in regards to some of those constraints that we have, the physical constraints in regards to the minimum area that we have to work within, and then we'll also be investigating some of perhaps what those outer boundaries are as it regards to space, because we'll be interacting in an environment that is being established as we talk right now. Then in addition to that, we'll be working within some budget limitations. In total, we have $180,000 dedicated to this project. We are also going to be very receptive and open to folks in our community that if they would like to contribute to this particular project, we'll be looking for that, as well as some grant applications that are in process as well right now, too. Some of those, unfortunately, have not opened as of yet, but we're going to continue that outreach and its development. So in total, we will be looking for commission action and recommendations on March the 12th at your regular commission meeting, that then will be provided to the town council requesting their action on March 28th, so that we can hit a goal of perhaps either a June 1st or a June 22nd ribbon cutting at the site. There's absolutely no point in opening a park if we can't have a playground in it. Right. This one being a very important one for us.
Do we know the space? I know you've had some discussions, and the design has been changed a little bit from what we originally looked at.
Correct. Yes, we've gone from that conceptual plan and working with our developer out there. We have indicated that we're roughly working within a space that should be no smaller than 65 by around 100 feet. I think we could probably find ourselves somewhere in the 70, 75. Maybe possibly up to 125 feet within that dimension. And then the big guidance after that, does it interact with all of the other equipment, amenities that will be found within the park, maintenance needs and requirements that we'll need to make sure work within those dimensions. And then ultimately, budget. And being able to do those things. I would love to be able to see a project budget increase and grow, so we'll be investigating that as well. So as well as we'll be talking to those fine folks behind us as well in regards to creative strategies of what we need to be able to look at. So with that being said, I think our next step is to begin our review and research process. And then also engaging our community for that feedback, as we always have. So pretty exciting times. Very much looking forward to that, and gathering back again on the 26th of this month and again on the 12th of next. So if there are no other questions, I think that concludes this particular element on our agenda.
Any other questions, comments?
No.
Yeah, just get us the money.
All right.
All right. Okay, moving on, we'll go to other. Anybody have anything else? Hearing nothing, we'll go to unscheduled public appearances. Anybody want to come up, and you get 5 minutes? Hearing none, we'll move on to our next meeting. As Brian said, will be a work study on February 26th right here in this auditorium at 6:30. Our regular meeting will be Tuesday, March 12th, 6:30 right here again. And any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion for adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, Prescott Valley. Exciting times coming. See you next month.